Hello and welcome to another episode of Tech Chat. Now, today I'm being joined by Henrik Reif Andersen, who is the Chief Strategy Officer at Configit. So, Henrik, welcome to the show and thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for inviting me.
I'm looking forward to our conversation. I think we've got a good topic to delve into. But before we get into that, would you mind just giving our viewers a bit of background on yourself?
Yes. So I'm originally a researcher. I
Mhm.
had my career in academia. So I was conducting research in an area called formal verification, and then by more or less a coincidence, I came across a very exciting topic around configurable products. So I founded Configit back in 2000 with some colleagues uh, because we come up with a newer way of solving this configuration problem. And that's at the core of what we do in Configit. So we work with configurable products and we help manufacturing companies handle all the challenges you face when you have complex products you need to develop and bring to market.
Excellent, which is exactly the topic we're going to be discussing today because Henrik is joining us to discuss how to really establish a collaborative configuration process based in manufacturing, and we're looking at a single source of truth that goes across the organization. And the purpose of this that we're looking at is to help improve time to market, lowering risk, increasing product quality, and really just giving that seamless product life cycle, which a lot of organizations are looking for. And I wanted to start off the show here by asking what really are the current issues that manufacturing is facing due to this digital disruption.
Yeah, so we see our customers facing challenges in a number of areas due to the development in digitalization, and it's in the products and the services themselves. So you see a lot of software and electronics getting into products. So more and more of the products you would normally think of as just being electronics, they become IT products. So you see modern cars coming out. They're just as much an IT device as they are a mechanical
Mhm.
device as they used to be. And for manufacturing companies, that's a challenge. It's a new type of product they're developing. It's increasing the complexity of the products they have to develop and bring to market. So they're facing this new reality of having to cope with a new type of products that are very different from what they used to build. So they feel that, and this is going very rapidly, as it often is when you're talking information technology. So they have to react quickly to stay in the game and get their products to cope with the new world. So they
Mhm.
face it in the products themselves, but also in the business processes, because there's also digital disruption there. Today, customer expects a seamless digital journey. So from we start learning about the product and until you get it in your possession and start using it, you expect, this is supported by an easy digital flow. And this holds just as much in a B2B market where we typically work as it does in a B2C market. So we hear our customers talk a lot about these challenges they face in these areas due to the changes in digitalization.
100% agree. It's an evolving industry, and every facet of it changes so rapidly. It can be difficult to keep track and know where to be going. And a word that gets thrown around a lot is that digital transformation that we see a lot in industry. So, how does Configit define digital transformation from your standpoint? And we're going to get into configuration lifecycle management in a second, but briefly how it relates to that, and then we'll go into defining that as well.
Yeah, for us, digital transformation is really about changing how you do business to adapt to the new world. Um, and for us, for the companies we work with, this is very much about connecting otherwise siloed functions in the company.
Mhm.
So digital transformation is about having a seamless journey from the product development in engineering through getting it ready to bring to the market in a sales and marketing function, taking orders, go through the order fulfillment, have a manufacturing process, deliver the product, being able to service it afterwards. For us, if you go through a good digital transformation, you'll have all that connected, and that's something that's needed and expected these days. You hear new terms coming out as Internet of Things, which means that products can be connected after a customer has obtained possession of them. And it means that as a manufacturer, you have a unique opportunity of seeing how your products are being used and adapt to the use over time, offering upsell opportunities for your customer. And in order to do that, you need to have connected processes. So when we work with digital transformation programs with our customers, it's a lot about connecting the different units, make sure they work on a joint definition of what their products are when they develop them and when they bring them to market and when they have to service them. So we look for opportunities to get this collaborative and aggregated picture of what the complex products can do for a manufacturer, so that they can collaborate on bringing it to market.
And that's exactly key, isn't it? Having that connection between so many parts of the business is integral for any business moving forward. So it's something that if an organization isn't doing, they need to make sure that's happening. And I mentioned before we start that question about configuration lifecycle management. Could you give us a definition of that and how that's going to help this process going forward?
Yeah, so for us, configuration lifecycle management has the goal of ensuring consistent product configurations across all the business functions. It's, as I briefly mentioned before, it's in engineering, it's in sales, manufacturing, and service. And in that way, it's sort of an end-to-end view of the product and its life cycle. And with the changes coming, this life cycle extends beyond delivering it to the customer. So for instance, you see in passenger cars now, you get updates to your car after you have obtained it. So there are software updates, and that can change the functionality in your car. You can buy features you didn't have originally, like autopilot features that you can later buy and upgrade. So this extends, so this life cycle perspective goes from very early phases all the way out until the full life cycle of the product in the hands of the customer. And it's key for the manufacturing companies we work with to be able to support that extended life cycle. So we have a customer doing elevators, and it's an expensive thing to get an elevator system installed in a new building. And then after 10 years, they offer a modernization of the elevator. There are new electronics coming out. It needs a service check, but there are also new features you can give to your customers, and that can be a quite profitable business. But if you're going to do that well, you got to track, how is this configured? How was this assembled originally, so that you can direct your offer to the customer based on what they have in their possession. So this ability to keep track of the variants you have defined and how to manufacture them, how to service them, is key in getting a good solution for configuration lifecycle management in our approach. So it's really end to end for the products.
Excellent. And I think that end-to-end approach is extremely important. And another aspect I mentioned in the introduction was this single source of truth. So what are the benefits of a CLM single source of truth?
Yeah, so our approach here is that you need all these different views on your on your product definitions. What is it we have agreed to offer to the market? What is it we know how to manufacture? So you need these different views, different places in the enterprise, and we do that from this single source of truth. And the single source of truth is aggregated from different systems. So in all modern enterprises, you will have a lot of different IT systems in place. You have something to handle your ERP. You have something for your product lifecycle management. You have something for your customer relationship management, for your manufacturing execution. And they typically all hold a little bit of truth about what your product is and how it's going to be manufactured and what you can offer to the market. And we want to bring that together in a coherent view. And some of the benefits you have there is that when you get that all aligned up, then you're sure that when you have an order, you know how to manufacture it. You're not taking orders in you don't know how to fulfill, because you've had that information come together and joined up. So you can in advance find any discrepancies that there might be by what you're planning to sell and what you know how to manufacture. So it's really getting through the silos. Don't have different systems taking isolated views on what's going to happen. Get it connected on this key part that has to do with the products, which is sort of the key mechanism for communication across the different business units. So that's what we want to achieve with this single source of truth. And our customers explain when they have that in place, they can see basically how they can transform key parts of the business, because instead of sort of having a reactive pattern where aggregating that information for sales is something that comes after you've engineered, and then you have to figure out the manufacturing plans that comes after that, then you can turn it around and you can much more proactively push out, this is what we plan to build. So push it out into sales that can then consider the options and the variants, and this is really something we want to bring to market or not, and quickly feedback to engineering, no, this is not really what we want, and then you can save some engineering costs. You can have finance start working on the costing of the products from an early stage where you don't have worked out the details, but at this level we work, you have a view on what it is you're going to offer, and you can have the different aspects come together in this single source of truth, as we call it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, as you say, it's that end-to-end process again, giving that full visual overwards. And I was curious to ask, how have customers been reacting to this? You don't have to name any names, but if there's any examples that you might have, that could be good.
Yeah, so what we hear from the customers is that when they are starting on this CLM journey, and I would say when we work with our customers to get started on this, we think of it as a journey, because there are lots of stuff you can do. We always try to put it into phases so you can have a quick path to value, and that can start in different places of the organization, but we always try to find a quick path to value. And what we hear from our customers is that they get much faster time to market. So when they have a product change, a product update, or a new product, they can launch it quickly, and they can do that because they have these connected systems, and they know that everything is aligned. So you have the manufacturing lined up, and you have done the work you need to prepare it for the market, so they can quickly propagate new products. And we have heard customers that have reduced by more than 90% the time to market of new products by taking this new approach in thinking about the products and bringing them out. We also hear a lot of reduced errors, because it's a common error in manufacturing companies that you have mismatch between orders and production. So this can be because you might be taking orders where you don't have the manufacturing process in place, or the processes you have set up, they are done incorrectly. And this is not a simple thing to solve, because when the type of products we're talking about, they have a lot of variations. So you could have 10 to the 21st different versions of the product. And for each of these, you need to have your manufacturing process in place. So it's not strange that, there could be something you hadn't thought about, that combination of transmission and engine. Wow, we hadn't seen that before. So it breaks down at the assembly line, and that's a real problem for the manufacturers. So when you get this lined up, what we see is that they reduce the number of errors they have tremendously in the manufacturing process, and that's real cost saved in not creating products that cannot be shipped to the customer because they don't work. So it's this faster time to market, it's increased quality in order fulfillment, and there are benefits also in the later stage when you have to service the products. You know exactly what product you have in your hand, so that you can use the right spare parts to fix it, or how to upgrade it if the customer wants to get an upgrade of the product they bought early on.
Excellent. Okay, so I guess the next logical follow-up question to that is, if anyone is watching this show today and they are thinking about going on that CLM journey, what do they need to be considering? What needs to be kind of the main points in their head before starting this journey of implementation, and also from an ROI standpoint as well?
Yeah, so what we see is that companies often start on a CLM journey in two different areas. It can be sort of be driven from sales, because you discover that you have some inefficiency in your sales process. So it could be the order fulfillment I just talked about, the handover from sales to manufacturing, that might be challenging. It can also be that you're launching a lot of new products with a lot of features. It's very difficult for the sales force to communicate that to the market. So they need good support in a tool to do that. So that's a typical place to start in sales, because there are some inefficiencies and you can't deliver on the expectations of a seamless digital journey to your customers, where they can self-serve, explore, and then you can give a quotation, you can build. We see many of our customers start there, and that's a good place to start and get value out, because you can quickly see the value you can generate of changing your processes and implementing new systems and new ways of working there. Another place we see customer start is from an engineering point of view, where they are looking for having an enterprise product configurator, so that they can share the information about the products that are coming, and then we are defining with the rest of the organization. So we also often see that it starts there. And when that's done, then our customers report that they can see how that improves their development of bill of materials in the engineering part. They can see how it can drive the cost calculations and margin expectations. They can calculate in advance before they launch it. So they're sort of driving a lot of other functions by taking that early on from the engineering perspective. And in these big companies we typically work with, big manufacturing companies that have thousands and thousands of employees, you can have a situation where this knowledge about the configurable products is a key piece of data that's needed by really many people in the organization. I heard one customer that tried to count how many teams, and it's not individual, how many teams needs to have access to this information. They found 700 teams that needed to know about what are the variants that are coming here, before they could do their work. So it can also be a good place to start sort of in the engineering, because that means you can sort of push the data downstream and throughout your organization, and it'll be accessible in all the other work you have to do to get your products ready to market and service them and manufacture them.
Excellent. There's a lot of factors to take into account, but if there's a plan set in from the beginning, then that process becomes a lot easier. And as you say, it comes back to that end-to-end solution of understanding what's going on. And I wanted to ask my final question here of, from your perspective, Henrik, what do you hope to see for the future of this industry, and any kind of last minute advice that you'd like to give on this area?
Yeah, so I think, if I have to be a bit frank, I think many manufacturing companies are used to being rather conservative in their choices. And I think a lot of them are being challenged by the new IT thinking. And, in IT companies are used to move fast because they're used to this changing very quickly. And I think that's a bit of a new world for many of the manufacturers of equipment and physical products. So I'd like to see, in general, that these companies embrace the new world with IT and try to tap into it, and understand also all the opportunities that are there if you act early and in the right manner. And I do see a lot of good movement there. There's a lot of thinking that you need to think about platforms and sort of building systems that you can quickly adapt, because that next year something is going to come you haven't seen. So if you're trying to design your new IT projects as 10-year programs that'll give you value after 5 years and after 10 years, it won't matter any longer because the world has changed. So, and I see that this recognizing that it's important to be able to be agile and flexible in how you proceed, how you define your processes and your systems, so that when next year something new happens, there's a new technology coming on board, or there's a new way you need to communicate with your customers, then you can quickly adapt to that and do it. And it cannot every time be a big many-year program to adapt to a change in the market. So I hope to see that spread generally, and I think that would be very good for the manufacturing space. And I think there are lots of opportunities to be picked up with the right mindset in embracing that almost everything is now becoming sort of an IT industry with the speed of things that has been going on in there for years.
Yeah, it's very much a case of, well, we spoke about it earlier with the digital transformation. There's that speed in which you've got to react to things, and we're seeing it very prevalent this year of you can't just sit on things. You've got to adapt to change as it comes, and I agree with you. I hope to see that in the space as well. So, Henrik, all I can say is thank you for coming on today's Tech Chat. Before we wrap up here, would you mind just telling our viewers the best place to go if they want to get more information on what we've discussed today?
Yeah, I would suggest that they go to our website, which is configured.com, or they can go to Wikipedia. There's an entry there on configuration lifecycle management if you want to see a bit more about the thinking that has been evolved around configuration lifecycle management.
Excellent. Well, Henrik, thank you once again for coming on. It's been a pleasure speaking to you today.